The Shadowlands. We just got Bastion, or Afterlife's Bastion, and it shows us the Kyrians. It shows us what the Kyrians are supposed to be about, right? When you play through the Kyrian campaign, it is very clear that something is so fucking off about this realm that it is truly disgusting, to say the very least. I dislike the fact that they strip you of your memories, but I finally understand why, and it really is during the Afterlives cinematic or animatic that we find out why you're stripped of all of your memories. The Kyrians must be able to do their jobs without judgment. This is why you're stripped of all your memories, so that you can become the weapon that does the job. You're the tool that brings mortal souls from the realms of the mortals into the Shadowlands. This is what the Kyrians do. But there is a problem with this portrayal. Devos, during the Kyrian campaign, expresses that as she listened to the words of the jailer, she finally understood what has been done to him. More importantly, what has been done to all of us. In that sentence, I get the idea that what has happened to the Kyrians, the way that the Kyrians are right now, is not how they were meant to be. As you play through the Shadowlands campaigns, one thing becomes very clear. These Shadowlands zones that we find ourselves on are not natural. Bastion, Maldraxxus, Ardenweald, Revendreth. These are not natural realms. In fact, and this is thanks to Tobias, but also thanks to Noble last week during the Twitch stream, the Winter Queen herself built Ardenweald. She designed and built it herself. In fact, it seems to be heavily suggested that the Winter Queen never even planned for souls to come to Ardenweald. This was something that the Arbiter herself decided. Like, the Arbiter just went, oh, fuck it, we'll send some souls to Ardenweald. Ardenweald was never even meant to house souls, but it eventually did become a realm that houses souls. This, of course, is very much reading between the lines and a lot of speculation that goes into it as well. But what we know for a fact is that these realms that we go to in the Shadowlands are not natural occurrences. When you go to the Maw, I want you to focus on a single landmark, a river. There is a river that runs throughout the Maw. It is called Gargua, River of Souls. Now, there are multiple mythos in our universe that speaks of the River of Souls, multiple beliefs and religions that have a River of Souls of some kind, right? When you die, you enter the stream, this river, and it takes you to where you need to go. Alright, so when you stand on top of Erebos and you look down, so there's a giant soul stream in Erebos. Literally, Erebos is built around this massive soul stream that flows from the top down. The Arbiter sits at the very top of Erebos, and there the Arbiter judges every single soul as it comes through. But here's where things get interesting. We know that the Arbiter right now is broken. The Arbiter isn't functioning. She is literally hunched over, just kind of chilling there, not doing anything. And now all of a sudden something very weird is happening within the system. The soul stream runs straight through Erebos, and then if you run to the very edge of the bottom area of the shadow of Erebos, and you look down to where the Maw is, you see that this soul stream runs straight into the Maw. Now, here's the problem. I made a video about a month ago where I said I believe the Maw was the original destination for all souls, and people said, dude, that's bullshit, that's crazy, that's not true. Well, if the Arbiter was broken and the Maw wasn't the original place for all souls, then why is it that now all souls go to the Maw? This makes zero sense. I mean, surely then those souls would just go willy-nilly everywhere. When you get into the Maw, look out for this river. It's called Gargua. Gargua, the River of Souls. This river runs through the whole of the Maw. The Maw is a giant city. If you look at the zone of the Maw, if you look at the map, the physical map of the Maw, it looks like it was far bigger than what it used to be. Like, far bigger than what it is now. There are massive areas that's broken off from the Maw. If you look down, there's areas where you can look down into like the abyss almost, into the great beyond of the Shadowlands, and then you'll see roads that effectively end in nothing. Like, the road is there, and then there's just nothing, and everything's been broken away. You look into the sky, and you see these areas that it's structures, but it's completely broken off. Like, the structures is leading up into the sky. It's completely broken away from the planet itself. This is where I believe the Maw comes in. I truly believe that the Maw was the original area where souls started. This is where I think souls had its origins. Once you died, you would enter into the eternal soul stream. Your soul would then run through the river Gargua, and from there your soul would most likely go to whoever you served in life. So your soul would go to the light if if you served the light, your soul would go wherever you served. This is what would be important for your soul. So why was the jailer betrayed? Because he says this consistently. The jailer insists that he's been betrayed. Devos states that when she spoke or listened to the words of the jailer, she realized that the jailer has been betrayed, and so has all of them. They've all been betrayed. So why was the jailer betrayed? What if the Maw was actually the city of the dead? This is where the dead lived. Now remember, I told you guys at the beginning of the video, Sargeras, after listening to the words of the Nethrazim, went to the Pantheon and argued that all life must be destroyed. What if the jailer had something similar? A similar experience, if you will. When the Nethrazim spoke to Sargeras, right? And they explained to Sargeras that the void is coming. Sargeras, so afraid of the void, made his way to the Pantheon to argue that everything should be destroyed. We should start over from scratch. What if that's no coincidence? What if the Nethrazim told Sargeras this for a very important reason? This is the exact thing the jailer feared. The first ones didn't understand the immense power that comes from anima and the hoarding of anima. They didn't understand just how powerful a titan or an eternal one can get when it gets enough anima. The jailer did understand this, because the city of the dead that used to be the Maw, or the Maw that used to be the city of the dead, it was where most of this anima compiled, right? This is where most of this anima collected. The jailer realized that the system that the first ones had intended to work. So souls would die and then they would venture forth to their, to their afterlives. That this system is flawed. As long as all of these cosmological forces have the ability to gain anima, the war would never end. If the light were to get their hands on enough anima, if the void was to get their hands on enough anima, the war would never end. They would fight eternal. And so the jailer said, well, I guard the river Gorgua. My city rules over the very mouth of the Shadowlands. We will hoard this so that we can launch an assault on the realms of the living. So, before you go, Akalon, this is all just pulled out of your ass, let's go back to Devos and Uther. Devos states that them losing their memories is an abomination. It's not how it should be. They shouldn't lose their memories. Why? Why does Devos believe this? Why does the jailer believe that what the Archon and the Kyrians do to their aspirants is a betrayal? It's not how it should be. Well, inside the Maw, we discover a creature called the Mawsworn. The Mawsworn look exactly like the Kyrians in every single way except cooler. I believe that the Mawsworn may in fact be far older than the Kyrians. If you look at what the jailer can do, if you look at the jailer's abilities, if you look at the creatures that exist within the Maw, they have mirrors in all of the zones of the Shadowlands. I believe the jailer viewed his position as the Titan of Death, very different to the Winter Queen, to the Arbiter, to Elune the First One. All of the other Eternal Ones, the Primus, not Sayadathrius, he's a weird one. I'm not entirely yet sure where Sayadathrius fits into any of these theories because, well, we know very little about him. And let's just say he's a dick while you're questing with him. That's about as much as I will say about him. But the Primus, the Archon, and the Winter Queen, they don't care about our worlds at all. Nothing. We see this during the Bastion Afterlife. The Archon will not even listen to Devos when she states that the jailer is free on Azeroth. The Archon will not even listen. It is not their job to interfere with the mortal realms. Who decided this? At which point was this decided? I believe it was decided after the jailer decided it is his job to interfere. If he sees something that could threaten the very creation the First Ones have put together, then it is in his best interest, as well as the best interest or the interest of the universe, that they act. Because no army is more powerful than the army of the dead. It is literally countless. It's limitless. It's an army that would defeat all other armies. And the jailer was not intent. He was not happy with just sitting on his laurels and doing nothing. Instead, he wanted to take action. The other Eternal Ones would not have this. They didn't want to listen. And so, they developed their realms in such a way to mirror what the jailer had done, and then they banished him. They removed him from his place as the ruler of the Shadowlands. Another piece of information that might be important to this, you can decide how you want to place this information, comes from Mueh'zala. Mueh'zala rules over the other side. That's the dungeon, but it is also a realm within itself. It is not part of the Shadowlands, at least not part of the zones we currently have within the Shadowlands. Mueh'zala rules over the other side, but in Ardenweald we get orders from the Ancient One. This is from Mueh'zala himself, that states that Mueh'zala will claim the throne of death. He will become the god of death, which further to me insinuates that Mueh'zala and the other Loa were not created by the Eternal Ones of the Shadowlands, but instead perhaps betrayed by them. One Somebody, of course, was created by Mueh'zala. It was Mueh'zala who made a deal with One Somebody. One Somebody was a lowly priest before he became a Loa. Once he became a Loa, he served under Mueh'zala, and now in Shadowlands he's replacing Mueh'zala as the Loa of Death. But in my personal opinion, Mueh'zala is working with the jailer because when the jailer was running the Shadowlands, all of the gods of death, and this is by the way according to One Somebody states in Shadows Rising, when he talks to Nathanos, the power that the Lords of Death has shared can be taken away just as easily. When somebody is actually warning Nathanos that Sylvanas doesn't understand the powers she's meddling with. That power that's been granted to her, it's not going to be hers forever. The Lords of Death can take it away whenever they choose. He's obviously referring to Mueh'zala, he might be referring to Syed Anathrius, he might be referring to the Jailer. I don't know who the other Lords of Death may or may not be, but he is referring to at least those three. See, I think when the Jailer was the leader of the Shadowlands, when he was the Lord of the City of the Damned, Mueh'zala had his place. Mueh'zala received all trolls in the universe, or at least all servants of him would come to him. He would get that power. But with the Eternal Ones, the Winter Queen, the Primus, and of course the Archon, he was overthrown. He was pushed aside so that they could share the power. Because, as I already stated, we know that right now, Loa is created inside Ardenweald. If you want to become a Loa, you have to speak to the Winter Queen, and the Winter Queen may grant you access to becoming a Loa. But Mueh'zala says nothing about requiring the Winter Queen to create one someday. He made it himself. He made one someday a Loa. In other words, whatever the Eternal Ones did, whatever the Shadowlands is now, was not its original purpose. This is exactly what Devos states, right? Devos says this. What you did to him, to all of us, was a betrayal. So whatever the Primus, the Archon, Syed Anathrius, and the Winter Queen did to the Shadowlands was a betrayal. And if we look once more to Afterlives, we see Devos taking personal responsibility for Arthas. This evil, the evil that has been committed by his hands, he doesn't deserve to be saved. He doesn't deserve to be judged by the Arbiter. This tells me at least 65% that the Arbiter herself is not just, the purpose is not just. There is something extremely selfish going on within the Shadowlands. Something that we most likely will uncover at some point. When? Fuck knows. I don't know. But at least in my opinion, that I think is what's going to happen here.